Hydrocephalus. So what is hydrocephalus? Hydro means water and cephalus means head. So there is excessive accumulation of water, that is CSF inside the head. So definition is increased volume of intracranial CSF. So what are the reasons for this increased intracranial CSF? This could be due to increased CSF production itself, or there is some obstruction to CSF flow within the ventricles, or CSF flow within the ventricles is normal, but there is some extraventricular CSF obstruction or impaired CSF absorption. When it is due to obstruction within the ventricles, it causes obstructive hydrocephalus, whereas these two cause communicating hydrocephalus. Now let's look at obstructive hydrocephalus. There are two common sites of obstruction within the ventricular system. First one is aqueduct of Sylvius. Second one is at the level of fourth ventricle. So at the level of aqueduct of Sylvius, common causes due to aqueductal stenosis. This stenosis, causes of this aqueductal stenosis can be either congenital or intrauterine viral infections, neonatal meningitis, or subarachnoid hemorrhage. These three may result in brisk glial response and resultant gliosis, thereby resulting in stenosis. And common causes at the level of fourth ventricle are posterior fossa tumors or malformations like Dandy-Walker malformation and Chiari malformation. So what is this Dandy-Walker malformation? Here there is defect in the development of roof of the fourth ventricle. So that results in cystic dilatation of the fourth ventricle, filling almost the entire posterior fossa. And this causes cerebellar vermis hypoplasia. But hydrocephalus is due to atretic foramen of Magentia and Lashka, thereby resulting in CSF outflow obstruction. Coming to Chiari malformation. In type 1 Chiari malformation, there is displacement of portion of the cerebellum into cervical canal through foramen magnum. Type 1 usually doesn't result in hydrocephalus, whereas in type 2 there is additional displacement of lower medulla also. So this results in obstructive hydrocephalus due to these displacements. In type 2 there is associated meningomyelocele also. Coming to communicating hydrocephalus, this extraventricular obstruction or impaired CSF absorption could be due to presence of blood or exudates or infiltrates. In case of subarachnoid hemorrhage, the blood obstructs the basal cisterns as well as arachnoid villi. In case of TB or pneumococcal meningitis, the exudates obstruct basal cisterns. And leukemic infiltrates can sear the entire subarachnoid space. And as the CSF is, most of the CSF is produced by the choroid plexus. Choroid plexus papilloma results in increased CSF production and communicating hydrocephalus. This can cause obstructive hydrocephalus also. So what happens in vein of Gallen malformation? Here there is AV malformation, and the malformation itself can compress aqueduct of Sylvius, resulting in obstructive hydrocephalus. But there is also increased pressure in the venous system. That is, there is due to this malformation, there is arterial pressure within the venous system. This pressure impairs, high pressure impairs CSF absorption, resulting in communicating hydrocephalus also. So most of the clinical features are due to dilated ventricles and raised intracranial pressure. But these clinical features differ between infants and older children. In case of infants, fontanelle is still open. So manifestations are large head, prominent forehead, there is excessive head growth that can be found by serial measurements of head circumference, dilated scalp vein, bulging anterior fontanelle, and sunset sign is due to upward gaze palsy. This is due to dilated third ventricle, that is suprapineal recess pressing on the tectum of midbrain. Whereas in the case of older infants where AF is closed and in the children, symptoms are vomiting, headache, change in personality, declining academic performance, and papilledema may be there. What are some other signs? In case of Chiari malformation, due to these displacements, there can be foreshortened acciput. And in case of Dandy-Walker malformation, due to the cystic dilatation, there is prominent occiput. And cranial bruit is heard in vein of Galen malformation. And cracked part sign is due to separation of sutures. Coming to investigations, ultrasound is the initial investigation in infants where AF is still open. The fontanelle is open. But in case of older infants, when the fontanelle is closed, and in the children, CT or MRI can be, CT brain or MRI can be done. But MRI is the investigation of choice. So, from the site of obstruction and the type of hydrocephalus can be made out from dilated ventricles. For example, when the obstruction is at the level of foramen of Monro, there will be dilated lateral ventricle on that side, that is proximal to the obstruction. Ventricle is dilated. In case of obstruction at the level of aqueduct of Sylvius, lateral ventricles and third ventricle are dilated, but size of the fourth ventricle is normal. In case of communicating hydrocephalus, there is symmetrical dilatation of all the ventricles, that is lateral ventricles, third ventricle and fourth ventricle. In addition to this, if there is any tumor or malformation, that can be made out from CT or MRI. Coming to treatment, first and foremost is treatment of cause, if possible. If there is tumor, resection of tumor itself can cause resolution of hydrocephalus. Second one is medical management. Here it is only for short period in slowly progressive hydrocephalus in those who are unstable for surgery. Diuretics like furosemide or acetylcholine are used. The mechanism of action is by decreasing CSF formation. Finally, surgical drainage. It is indicated for rapidly progressive hydrocephalus. Two procedures are commonly done. First one is endoscopic third ventriculostomy. It is commonly done for obstructive hydrocephalus. So what is done here? Here perforation is made in the floor of the third ventricle to connect it directly to subarachnoid space. thereby bypassing any obstruction. So second one is shunt. This is done for both obstructive and communicating hydrocephalus. Commonly done shunt is ventriculoperitoneal shunt. Here, the shunt allows CSF to flow from ventricles directly to peritoneum. From the peritoneum, CSF is absorbed. Common complications are shunt infection and shunt failure. In case of arrested hydrocephalus, that is, here hydrocephalus is not progressive, surgical drainage is usually not needed. So what are these two terms? Hydrocephalus ex vacuo and benign external hydrocephalus. Hydrocephalus ex vacuo, dilated ventricles are simply due to cerebral atrophy. So what is benign external hydrocephalus? Here there is enlargement of subarachnoid space, mainly overlying the frontal lobes. But the size of the ventricles is normal or mildly dilated. As we can see, here there is enlarged subarachnoid space, mainly overlying the frontal lobe, and size of the ventricles normal.